This is the Sales Podcast, episode 369, with me, your host, Wes Schaefer, otherwise known as the Sales Whisperer. If you missed 368, that was with Jason Redman. He was a return guest. He is a former Navy SEAL. He was shot 7 times and lived to tell about it. He's now an author, a speaker, and a dude that is getting after it. And you want to hear his story, you will get fired up. His first book is out. He's working on his second. You're going to enjoy that interview. John Crowley is coming up, episode 370. He is my kind of guy, a knuckle-dragging salesman. But we talk about the benefits of something I've been talking about online, in a newsletter, but doing things that don't scale. Ryan Dice talked about this. I was in a workshop with him in mid-March out in Austin. And we talked about doing things that don't scale, calling people, texting them, having human beings monitor your chat and answer them in real time instead of having it all be robots. So John is cut from the same cloth. So that was cool to hear. Today we've got Sarah Wirth. She's an author and she gives advice. She's sharing some great tips on how to be a better sales manager, how to get more out of your sales people, talking about feedback, career discussions, how to handle one-on-one sessions, whether or not you should be a quota carrying manager, should you promote from within, and a whole lot more. So you're in for a treat. But working in alignment with that, falls right in line with why I've got this new sponsor, Rainmaker. These guys are changing the game. I hate to say it. I know it sounds cliched, but it's true. Cliches are cliches because they're true. And Rainmaker is doing that. They are operating in a few major cities now, but growing. But they work with salespeople on a private, on a what's the word I'm looking for? Discreet manner. Okay, your previous employer and your current employer cannot see your job listing. As a company, you are given a batch of candidates every couple of weeks. So you've got to be ready to hop on it to get the best talent. And because Rainmaker is screening these folks so well and prepping them, you know that they're ready. You know that it's great talent that's coming your way. I mentioned the stats before, but average time to hire is just 20 days. 97% response rate, 6% candidate approval rate. This process, this model that Mike created is working. Mike is a successful entrepreneur. He's already launched and sold a couple of other ventures, and they're expanding smartly into additional cities. But like I said, it's free to join as a candidate. So if you're in sales and you want to find a good job that's really fit for you, check it out. If you're hiring and you want to find the top talent and not pay exorbitant recruiter, headhunter fees, check it out. All right. They made a special landing page for my listeners. Go to thesaleswhisper.com/recruit. Sign up there. You can get information. There's no commitment. The folks are not pushy. They're really quite friendly. I've spoken with several of them, including the founder. You're going to like working with these folks to find your next sales gig or to find your next salesperson. So do it. All right? You'll be glad you did. Now, let's bring on our guest. Sarah Wirth, author of The Coaching Effect, What Great Leaders Do to Increase Sales, Enhance Performance, and Sustain Growth, all the way from Kansas City. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How the heck are you?
I'm great, Wes. Thanks for having me.
Are you sure? You kind of paused there a little bit. All right?
Well, I just returned from about 8 days in Costa Rica. So being in cold Kansas City is a little bit of a letdown from that, but overall doing really well. Thanks.
Oh, come on. You missed home. Admit it.
The one thing I missed was sleeping in my own bed, but the weather in Costa Rica definitely has us beat in Kansas City, I'm afraid to say.
Was it vacation or what?
Yeah, it was vacation. It was our kids' spring break from school. So we took off a number of days and went down there and just got some sunshine and did all sorts of fun things. Did my first zip lining ever. So that was pretty cool.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah.
So what the heck? What's this book about, huh? Are you one of the partners, one of the founders at is it EC Cell? Is that how you say it?
It's pronounced
Or
Excel. So
Excel,
just like,
Excel Institute,
yep,
right? Okay.
yep, exactly.
But you had to get
Yeah.
fancy with
So
the EC just to throw me off.
just to trick you a little bit,
You
our
have to
founder's
make the
name
host
Bill.
look good, okay? Don't be tricking me.
Sorry about that. Yeah, our founder's name is Bill Ekstrom, so it's a play on his name. That's where it comes from.
Gotcha. So, so you wrote this book with Bill, right?
Correct.
So,
Yes.
the coaching effect, based on the research of over 100,000 coaching interactions. Good grief, 100,000. No wonder you need a vacation, because I called the office and Bill said you did like 97,000 of those. So I mean, you earned that vacation.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. No, we definitely we wanted to make sure that everything that we're recommending to coaches, to leaders, is based in research. So rather than just assuming that we know what the best coaches are doing and how they do it, we decided to actually measure what they're doing from the perspective of their salespeople, as well as from tracking their coaching interactions and seeing what they do that's actually different than those that are less successful in hitting their sales target.
And so, are these numbers based on just office managers, sales managers, as well as like independent coaches and consultants?
So these numbers are really based on frontline sales managers. So those individuals that are directly managing a sales team.
Cool.
Yeah.
And did you only pick the good ones, or did you pick the bad ones as well? Come on, tell me, pick some bad ones too.
Well, we did. We had to study everybody across the board, because if you want to know what the best people are doing differently, you've got to see how they're different from an average sales manager or even a low performing sales manager. So absolutely, right. We studied everybody across the board.
Right. Very cool. So what did you find, huh? Because that the nice thing with sales is that we know who number one is.
Right.
If you ask me, like, who's the best chiropractor in the area, it's like, it's subjective.
Yep.
You know, who's the best eye doctor? I don't know. I can tell you why I like my doctor, but what makes him number one? You know, whereas sales, we know, like, yeah, that dude over there, yeah, his team's been the top sales team for the last, 6 quarters in a row. Like, oh, okay, he's probably pretty good.
Exactly. Well, and that's why we wanted to study sales leaders, because it's just much more tangible to measure their performance.
Right.
Either you're ahead of your sales target or you're not. And so it's a lot easier to say with real data as opposed to just subjective opinion, these are the best performing sales leaders, and to look at them as a group and to say, okay, so what do they do? How are they spending their time differently when they're with their sales reps? How are they coaching them differently? And to see what sets them apart from the rest of the counterparts in the organization.
Sure. So what have you found, right? What do the good ones do? And then we'll kind of back into the bad ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the things that we found is that the best performing sales leaders are much more consistent in their coaching interactions. And that's probably not a huge surprise. They're coaching more often. They're spending more time with their sales reps, doing one-to-one meetings. They're more consistent in how they're doing their team meetings. They're giving feedback more regularly on how their salespeople can improve. They're having career discussions with their sales reps on a regular basis. So number one, they're just a lot more consistent in actually coaching their salespeople to improve their skills, as opposed to just trying to be super salesperson themselves.
Do top sales managers carry a quota?
Normally not. In the people that we are studying, the best salespeople are not carrying a quota. They're dedicated to being a sales manager. Now, some of them do. That's, I mean, not to say that everybody's the same, but most of them, their role is dedicated to being a sales leader, a sales manager, a sales coach, as opposed to a sales producer.
So do top sales reps want coaching and interaction, or do they want to be left alone?
That's such a good question, because I will tell you there's a difference between what they think they want and maybe what actually helps them perform better. So we hear a lot in our surveys from salespeople that they do want their managers to leave them alone. You know, give me freedom, let me go out and do what I need to do, you know, stay off my back and I'll deliver a number for you. So that's what people oftentimes will say, that's what I want. But what's interesting is when they have somebody who's actually a really good coach and somebody who actually helps them build their skills, all of a sudden they realize the value of a good sales coach and they want more coaching. So the people that have bad sales managers want their manager to stay out of their way. The people who have really good sales coaches say, yeah, you know, I love my sales coach. They really help me. They help me get better.
Right. But most sales managers, it seems like they're happy to have a top producer. They get out of their way and they spend all their time on the dogs. Why is that?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's just because that's the people that are having the most issues and that are creating the most problems and them actually being able to hit their sales quota. But our data does say the same thing. When we compare where managers are spending their time to how sales reps are performing, most sales managers naturally gravitate more consistency in their time to those low performers. And that's one of the things we really try to get them to change, is to invest more time with their best people and then deal with those low performers as needed to either get them up to performance levels or move them out, but really spend more time on those top performers because that's where you'll get a better return on your investment.
Yeah, you know, I literally came up with the name, the Sales Whisperer. I was watching the Dog Whisperer, and he said that he rehabilitates the dogs and trains the owners, right? Because the owners, they don't know how to be good owners, right? And I was like, that's what I do. I rehabilitate these abused salespeople, and I train the sales managers because most sales managers haven't really had sales management training, right? They had CRM training. They've had, here's how to approve and decline expense reports. You know, here's how to yell at everybody on the Monday meeting when their pipelines aren't as full as they should be. Go get them.
Right.
So how the heck is a sales manager supposed to excel in that environment?
Exactly. Most of them were promoted into the position because they were good individual performers. So they were good salespeople themselves. And so they got this opportunity. And then they weren't given any instruction or training or leadership or guidance on how to be a sales manager. So all they did is end up replicating some of the poor lessons that they learned from other sales managers in their own lives. And they didn't really learn the role. And so that's a big part of the reason why we've focused on sales leaders as opposed to salespeople, because we saw that that's really who needed the help in terms of learning their job and building their skills, was the sales leadership level.
Right. Who brings you in? Because it would seem like if a sales manager is wanting your help, they might be hesitant because they might be seen, at least they think they'll be seen as weak or, you know, lacking in skills, and the boss like, why the heck am I paying you? You know, if you got to bring them in, what am I paying you to do? You know, or if the boss is bringing you in, you know, how do you keep the sales manager from thinking, oh, my boss hates my guts, I'm probably about to be fired? You know, it can be a delicate balance, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And it does get tricky because a lot of times we will be hired by either a senior sales VP who maybe has a bunch of sales managers reporting to them, or maybe even sometimes by a CEO who brings us in to work with the sales leadership. And it is tricky because we do want to make sure that sales leaders are understanding that this is for their benefit. It's giving them skills, it's giving them information and education on what they can do to coach more effectively. And ultimately, the thing I think that really gets their attention is that we can tie these sales coaching activities and behaviors to better sales numbers. We can show how other people that we've worked with have improved their sales numbers by using these best practices. And that's what they want. They want better sales numbers. They want more people on their team hitting their target. And so for them, they're interested in things that will help them hit their numbers more effectively.
How much should the underperformers be trained versus literally ignored? I always equate it to like the carrot and the stick. If you want your kids to do better, heap praise on the good ones, that are doing the right things versus spank the bad ones. Right.
Right.
Misbehaving says, well, I want more loving. I want an extra scoop of ice cream. I'll go clean my room. I mean, does it work that way? Or do you have to sometimes, lean on those? Because I've heard things, I don't know if it was IBM or others, tech firms you hear about, like every year they just fire the bottom 10%. So they're always, bringing in new blood and creating competition. Is that a healthy way to grow, or should you love on everybody?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think every single salesperson that you hire, you want to invest in terms of giving them consistent coaching, doing one-to-ones, giving them feedback, making sure that you're talking about their goals and where they want to be going and how you can help them reach them. You want to give that basic level of coaching to everybody. But ultimately, if people aren't performing, that's where I think the best coaches really have a different kind of accountability and conversation, because they've invested in them, because they've tried to help them, because they've given them the support that everybody deserves. They're also in a better position to be able to say, here's what we've done for you, here's the platform we've given to you, and here's how you're still falling short. And so it's at that stage, I think it's a very fair conversation to say either you get that turned around, or we're going to have to figure out a different role for you within the company or outside of the company, because ultimately we've done what we need to do to set you up for success. You've got to deliver. And they can really say that because of what they've invested their time and energy in helping that person hopefully improve.
Yeah. Should companies promote from within, or should they pull someone in from the outside?
I think you can do either, although I will say that based on our research, I have a little bit of a preference for promoting from within, simply because, number one, that person does know your products and services, and so that gives them a good deal of credibility when they're trying to coach other salespeople. But number two, it also creates a career path within your company. Salespeople like to be able to see that they can go somewhere. Now, some people want to stay individual performers, of course, and they don't want to move into management. But for others, it's good for them to see that your company will actually promote people and give them opportunity for more leadership if they're proven to have the right skills and track record.
If someone is brought in from the outside, do they need to be a great salesperson, or can they be? I've just seen examples of companies bringing in an attorney, guy just wanted a career change, but he was very methodical, right? Detail oriented. And that mindset lend itself well to creating a successful team.
They need to be a great sales leader. Right. Yeah, they need to be a great sales leader. And we've seen it a lot where we've worked with coaches that came from one industry to a completely different one, but because they were good at building relationships with their team members, because they had a consistent and clear approach to how they were going to coach them, and they had accountability for what they were supposed to be doing, and that they challenged them and pushed them and got them outside their comfort zone, those coaches became really successful. So what we see is a lot of the coaching skills that make people a good leader, it transfers from different types of industries and even different types of roles within the company.
Right. Do underperformers, like you're talking about, they're in the wrong role, let's say you hire them for outside sales, or, just in a typical account executive position, and then like, hey, maybe you're better suited as an inside sales rep or an SDR, all these different acronyms, lead development rep, whatever. Does that work, or is it seen as a demotion and you're better off just helping them move on out of the company?
Yeah, I think it makes sense if it's the right fit for the salesperson. That's really what it depends on. Because for somebody, especially if they're going from maybe an outside sales role to an inside sales role, it can feel like a demotion. And, it's not something that they are comfortable with, be able to make that jump. So you can certainly do it if that's helpful. Wait a second, I think I lost you.
Yeah, you were muted for just a second. So can you say that part again? Yeah, something happened.
Okay,
just
sure.
That was weird.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with the sound. But what I was saying is that what we've seen is that it really depends on the salesperson, especially if you're moving from maybe an outside role to an inside role, which some people will consider to be a demotion. If the salesperson feels like that's their best fit and they're going to be more successful there, then they can make that transition and they can make that jump. For others, they're never going to get over the fact that it was a status reduction or whatever it is that they feel like. So I think it really depends on the salesperson and whether or not they're more concerned with what's going to make me most successful versus, what's going to look logical or look good on my resume.
I've always said that sales managers should manage activity and pay on results. But most companies, they just hire you, give you a quota, hand you the phone book and say, knock yourself out, Sparky, here's your quota.
Right.
And it's because they haven't documented things, so how prescriptive should a company be with their salespeople? Go do this, that, and the other, every day, every week, every quarter, get after it versus giving them more latitude, and creativity to hit their number.
Yeah. From what we study, the best sales managers, the best sales coaches are really consistent in tracking activity of their sales team. So they give really clear accountability for what they're supposed to be doing, and that there actually is some sort of back-end way of measuring that activity to make sure that their salespeople are delivering. So that seems to be a really consistent approach that the best leaders are taking. I will say, though, that they also know when to be flexible with that. So if they've got somebody who's performing at a really high level and that person has a little bit of a different approach, they'll give that person more flexibility so long as they're hitting a number. But for most salespeople, it's helpful to know, here's what I should be doing. Here's the activities I should be doing. Here's how much I should be doing them. They like that kind of clarity because at least it gives them a path to be able to achieve better results.
How are companies tracking without being burdensome? I was an early adopter of technology when I was still in corporate America, and I embraced CRMs, and it was crazy. I was with a startup in 2004. They deployed Salesforce in late 2004 timeframe, early 2005, and I used it. And I remember getting in a shouting match with my manager. He kept wanting Excel spreadsheet reports updated and whatever. And I'm like, dude, it's in Salesforce. Are you saying if I pull a report, it'll be current? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes. All the training we did, all the mandatory training we went through, I don't know. I did what you said, but most people are afraid of CRMs. They feel like it's Big Brother,
Yep.
But I've seen crazy reports about the amount of downtime or busy work that salespeople are doing just to keep the boss happy,
Yeah.
So how do they track these activities without bogging down their team?
Yeah, well, the best organizations and the best leaders really limit that tracking to the activities that actually are going to correlate to better sales numbers. So it's not very extensive. They don't track everything under the sun, and they don't create a process for everything. Instead, what they do is they say, okay, so which 5 activities that our salespeople need to be doing are most important to actually closing more business, and let's track those. And let's have regular reporting conversations on that so that people know that we're not just asking them to put data into a system that nobody ever does anything with. If you put that data into the system, as a salesperson, I want to know, if I'm taking the time, that you're using that and that somehow that's correlating to whether or not I'm going to be able to sell more. And if you can show me that, then it's meaningful to me and it's helpful to me. If you can't show me that, then why am I doing it? And that's the difference between companies that do it well and those that don't. They limit what they're tracking, and then they actually use it to be able to coach those people and help them make better decisions of where they're spending their time out in the field.
Yeah. Do great sales managers, are they leading like a team call or training like each week, or are those scaled back and it's more a one-on-one coaching that works?
Yeah, that's interesting. One of the biggest surprises that we found when we started researching the best sales leaders is that they actually do their team meetings less often than what we expected. We were expecting weekly team meetings or calls. What we found is that the best sales leaders are usually doing those monthly on a team basis, and that their meetings or their calls are much more interactive. So it's much more about educating their salespeople, sharing best practices, talking about challenges that they're running into, talking about ways to overcome those challenges or objections. So it's a much more educational team meeting that they do once a month. And then in between that, every other week or weekly, they're doing individual one-to-ones in order to coach that one salesperson on what they're trying to accomplish within their territory.
Are they on the floor, like hanging out with the team, like one of the guys? Are they tucked in a corner, kind of letting everybody do their own thing? How do they mix and mingle?
Yeah, great question. Well, in general, they're building strong relationships. So first and foremost, the best sales leaders, their sales team members feel like their manager cares about them as a person, not just as a sales producer. So they do feel like they have this stronger bond and relationship with their managers. Now, that doesn't mean that necessarily they have to be, buddies outside of work or, going drinking with them at the end of the day. What it simply means is that they take the time to know their salespeople. They know what motivates them. They know what they care about. They know about oftentimes their family or their hobbies and things that are important to that salesperson. And they take the time to really care about them and show that they care, because when they do, their salespeople are more motivated to perform for that manager.
So do they feel appreciated when the boss gets Bud Light because it's just, it's good, it's cold free beer, or do they need like a high-end import to feel appreciated?
I don't know. I think that's got to be based on personal preference, right?
All right.
I personally will take the Bud Light.
My favorite beer is that's my favorite flavor is cold free. So I'm not going to be picky.
Exactly.
So kind of along those lines, I mean, do they have like an open door policy? Hey boss, you got a minute? Or are they kind of hard to reach and let the salespeople kind of figure things out on their own? Is there a trend one way or another?
Yeah, they in general are pretty accessible. They have a pretty open door policy. They're easy to reach via phone or via text, because a lot of times salespeople have a question that is going to help them close a deal, and they need their manager to be able to jump on and walk it through with them. So they're pretty accessible, but they also make sure that they don't rely just on that. They don't allow it just to be informal communication. They also do regular scheduled one-to-ones, because what happens is if I just do the informal and that I'm available when you need me, we end up having a lot of transactional conversations about this specific client or this specific prospect. But we're not talking more big picture around what's going on in your territory and how that manager can be helping. So they do a combination of more formal one-to-ones as well as remaining accessible to their team.
Cool. So going back to the underperformers, is it like these long drawn out like performance improvement plans? Is it like, I'm going to do everything I can to save you, or is it more tough love that works?
Yeah. So in general, one of the things that we see is starting off with consistent feedback right away is really key, because what happens a lot of times is sales managers won't do much in the way of formal feedback, and especially not documentation of feedback, until they feel like somebody is really not succeeding. So they can go 6 months, 9 months, a year before they do any type of more formal feedback and documentation. And then they're faced with this longer process of, okay, now HR says, I've got to do this for another 6 months before I can really take action. What we really stress to sales managers is give regular feedback all the time with your team members, and make sure that you document it at least every quarter, so that as this person is performing or not performing, they know that. They're very clear on what they're doing well and what they're not succeeding on. And that way, if you need to take action, you can, but also you've hopefully given that salesperson a really clear picture. Most salespeople are looking actually for more critical feedback than what they get from their manager. They want to know what they need to do to be better. And unfortunately, a lot of sales managers just aren't clear enough or direct enough to say, here's what you need to get better at doing.
Yeah, because a lot of them don't know. They don't know what to do. So they just scream and yell,
Yep.
or browbeat them. When I had your territory, I was up 30%, and that's no good. So, like
Right.
Zig Ziglar says, if you got to eat a frog, there ain't no use staring at it, right? If you got to eat more than one, eat the biggest one first. So
Right.
get these evaluations done, stay on top of it, so it doesn't get out of hand. What about using like experienced or senior salespeople to train new people? Is that advisable? Are they maybe prone to teaching bad habits? So should it be limited to official trainers or the manager themselves?
Yeah. So if you have a senior salesperson who actually is good at teaching what they do to other salespeople, that is a complete gift, because salespeople, I will say, do love learning from their peers. They look at this person and they feel like, well, this person knows exactly what I'm going through. They have a territory like I have a territory. They're dealing with it right now. My manager hasn't been in the field in 10 years. So they don't know what I'm facing nowadays. So they do love learning from their peers, but you have to have somebody who's actually good at teaching what makes them successful. A lot of times you'll ask a good salesperson what they do that makes them so good, and they say, I don't know, that's how I do it, it came naturally to me, and they have a harder time explaining it. So as long as they can say, here's exactly what I do, and here's how I address this objection, and here's how I plan for this kind of meeting, and here's how I figure out my client's needs, when they can convey that, they absolutely are the best teachers, but they have to be able to say what they're doing.
Yeah, I've seen too many times where the manager just pawns it off, and then you get some sales guy ends up teaching them bad habits.
Yep.
And that's no bueno.
Yeah.
So what else? What should I have asked that I haven't?
Well, I'll tell you one other thing that we talk about a lot in the coaching effect that I think might be of interest to you and your listeners, which is this idea of getting your salespeople outside their comfort zone. We talk a lot in the coaching effect about how the best managers create experiences for their salespeople that get them to stretch and grow. When you talk to somebody about the times in their careers when they grew the most, when they learned the most, when they improved the most, inevitably they'll point to something like getting a promotion, or that time when they were hired for a new job, or their company was rolling out a new product and they had to get ready for it. What most sales managers don't do day in, day out is put their team members into uncomfortable situations. And salespeople need more of that if they're going to learn and improve their skills. They've got to be asked to do something that they're not currently doing. They've got to be asked to get outside their comfort zone and to try a different way, or be forced to learn a new skill if they're really going to grow and improve. And so that's something that I would really encourage most sales managers to do more of, is more getting people outside their comfort zone.
Right. And so your book is going to push them outside of their comfort zone. Should they hide it from their salespeople so they don't know what the management's working on?
I think it's actually really helpful to tell your salespeople that I'm working on this and I'm trying to become a better sales leader. Most salespeople look at their manager and they appreciate that their manager's trying to get better for them. And so I don't think you actually have to hide it. I think it's great to be open about it and to let them know that you're learning too. You expect them as salespeople to keep working on their skills and hopefully keep getting better at what they do. So set the tone and say, yeah, I'm working to become a better sales leader too. So you definitely don't have to hide it.
Right. Very cool. So we are linking to your site. So it's pronounced Excel, but it's the letters ENC, eccellinstitute.com, right?
That's correct.
All right. And I'm linking to your book as well. Is there anywhere, should we send people to a specific spot on the page? I see you've got a little pop-up there about the book. You've got need management training, need sales training. So does the website just guide them through where you want them to go, or should we send them to a subdomain or somewhere where else they can get additional resources?
Yeah, no, great question. So if they go to keynotes.com, they will certainly see a lot of different resources of what we provide. They'll see more information on our book, The Coaching Effect, and they can also go through some interaction on the website. They'll find it on the home page. That'll help them figure out what exactly are they needing and wanting to help them be most effective as a coach. So that's something that they can experience as well. So go to the home page and it'll be pretty easy for them to navigate.
Yeah, cool. Looks like you're using HubSpot. Is that a good guess?
Yeah, that's correct.
I like HubSpot. So I'm a part of it.
Yeah, we do too.
Very nice. All right. Well, Sarah Wirth, I mean, despite being sad and depressed back in the cold weather, you actually, you hit it well. So, I mean, you came across very enthusiastic. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely, Wes. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Thank you.
Fresh from Costa Rica, she shared those pearls of wisdom. I hope you got a lot out of it. As I've mentioned on the past episodes, I have links to the books of all my guests. It's an affiliate link through Amazon. They pay me a few nickels, helps put food on the table for my family of 7. So if you find her episode on thesaleswhisperer.com, click the book. That will help. It's The Coaching Effect, What Great Leaders Do to Increase Sales, Enhance Performance, and Sustain Growth. If you're looking for a multimedia engaged process to grow your sales, check out 30daysalesgrowth.com. That's my signature program. I have brought it back. Never really went away. I kind of had it folded up under Make Every Sale, but I spruced it up and kind of going in reverse, bringing all the Make Every Sale, all 41 videos, the workbook, the templates, everything, rolled that up under the 30-day sales growth. I'll probably be taking those videos and courses and putting it in a private Facebook group. But for now, it's hosted on a training website. But hey, I'm always learning new things. I've mentioned how I'm in a new training program, a not inexpensive coaching program. But when you invest real money, you invest real time and attention, and you get real results. This course is way underpriced. I've done it, as I mentioned before, because there might be a link here or there broken or whatever. I've priced it very low, although I've raised it once. By the time you listen to this, I would have raised it twice. So you want to get in now because it'll continue to go up. This is an on-demand program. It was 30 days of content. It used to be dripped on you, and you had to wait each day, and the email would come and the login. All of the content is still there. You still get the emails with the supplemental information, but you get access to it all right away. I do recommend you pace yourself. You need to go through the lessons, take notes, think about them, and apply them before you do the next thing, okay? And because I've rolled in the 41 videos from the Make Every Sale program, it's going to take more than 30 days, okay? But it's still priced as though it was just 30 days. So think of it as a bonus 30 days, probably a bonus 60 days. So I keep adding more content to it. And in the private group, you can ask questions. And I do my best to answer them immediately. Although realistically, like I'm heading to the gym after this, I do jiu-jitsu, I sleep. So sometimes it could be an hour or two before I get to you. But there's others in the group that can help answer. And the reality is the group is smarter than just me. So when you're actively involved in a group like this, you're going to get more out of it by being open and honest and transparent and authentic and asking questions, admitting when you don't know something. You're going to make friends. And when you see them help you, you're going to be more likely to help others. And when you help others, you get better. Like in jiu-jitsu, I've done this 2 years, 2 months, and a couple of weeks, but who's counting? I feel like I don't know jack diddly squat. But when a new person comes in, I do. Multiple times in the last couple of weeks, I fought really big, strong, young dudes. But because they were brand new, I was able to beat them because they don't have the technique. Stamina and endurance, just being a big, strong, young buck doesn't cut it against experience and technique. And so I was able to teach them, impart things. And as I am sharing my knowledge, it's making me better. All right? And that's what you get by belonging to a group like this. When you help others, you get better. So are you willing to learn? Are you willing to share? Are you willing to apply? That's what you're going to get in the 30-Day Sales Growth Program. So go check it out, 30daysalesgrowth.com. Enroll now because the price will continue to go up. If you have not subscribed to the podcast, please subscribe. When people subscribe, you automatically get the episode. It helps with the download numbers. You're more likely to listen to it because you've got it. But as the numbers increase, I can get more sponsors. When I get more sponsors, it helps me put food on the table. It helps me then give back, do more free things like this to help more people. So subscribe, give me a comment, give me a shout. You'd be surprised how few people do. Give me a 5-star review, pretty please. Leave a note on the blog, leave a note on the Facebook group. I get all of those. So if you want to engage, hit me up on social, all right, and share this. I do appreciate it. And so do my wife and my 7 children and my dog, all right? As always, thanks for listening. Now go sell something.